There are defining qualities that imply common forms of expression within specific sports all throughout the world. The mullet has withstood the test of time in the NHL. While moustaches and tattoos have left their imprint on the MLB and NBA, hockey hair has become a catch-all term for comparing a wild hairstyle to the fashionable hairdos that graced the NHL in the 1970s and 80s. The mullet will always be connected with the NHL and arena rock, and while the latter has faded, the mullet is still fighting for survival in the sport of ice hockey. Number 14. Wendell Clark. Wendell Clark was little but mean, like his mullet, with 1,690 penalty points in his career. I considered moving Clark up the list, but I couldn't pull the trigger on such a small amount of hair. Clark's buzz cut, which grew into a semi-thick rat-tail-looking thing, is undoubtedly one of the more unusual mullets in history, and the moustache further added to his individuality. We'll never see another Clark mullet, a victim of terrible genes. Number 13. Scott Hartnell. Scott Hartnell's Parliament Red mullet is near the top of the list of Philadelphia Flyers mullets. Hartnell's length hasn't remained consistent throughout his career, which is a pity. The ginger look only appears on rare occasions, let alone in mullet form. At the age of 29, Hartnell has already amassed 1,143 penalty minutes, putting him on track to overtake Wendell Clark as the king of mullet enforcers in the coming years. Hartnell holds the team record for penalty minutes for the Nashville Predators. Number 12. Wayne Gretzky. The Great One, too, had a mullet. When the greatest player of all time left his own nation to join the Los Angeles Kings, he also left behind his stunning blonde haircut. Gretzky's mullet might easily be moved up a few positions on this list, but I think it's quite plain in comparison to what'll be on the top spot. Nonetheless, the fact that the game's best represented the sport's greatest haircut with flair and dignity further added to its legacy. Number 11. Ron Duguay. It's difficult to dispute that Ron Duguay wasn't one of the first mullet ambassadors. Duguay was a 13-year NHL veteran. His aerodynamic flair is claimed to have given him a substantial speed gain. But regardless of that claim, Duguay's hair contributed to his success as a showy NHL player. Duguay rose to prominence as a pop icon rather than a skilled player and has been married to 2 models, proving that ladies adored the mullet. Number 10. Michael Hunzus. Michael Hunzus stands out from the crowd because of his extremely bushy length. Zus sported a mullet while playing for the Chicago Blackhawks and Philadelphia Flyers, but has since dropped it. I can't picture the amount of care required to keep bugs out of that thing, but I'm sure he employed a Palomalu-like treatment solution. Hunzus's hair was often bigger than his head, and it swung freely to the left and right as he moved. I'm not sure if we'll ever see more hair pouring out of a hockey helmet than Hunzus. If you're enjoying this video so far, consider subscribing to our channel to help us make more great content. Number 9. George Parros. George Parros makes the list just for his dual mullet facial hair. Parros has nearly had as many different hairstyles as the players included in this video. He's just one of the countless athletes who've demonstrated the mullet has an intimidating influence, totaling 865 penalty minutes in just 7 seasons. But despite his terrible play style, Parros is a deserved number 10 because he donates his long hair to Locks of Love every Christmas. Number 8. Guy Lafleur. Guy Lafleur, along with Ron Duguay, is regarded as one of the forefathers of the traditional mullet. Lafleur played in the NHL for 17 years and was known as the Blonde Demon among French fans. Lafleur's hair flair complemented his look perfectly. He also gets bonus points for having a provision in his contract that allows him to play without a helmet during the helmet period. Number 7. Marty McSorley. This is truly classic. Marty McSorley played in the NHL for 19 years and sported one of the most exquisite, well-kept mullets of all time. McSorley would become known as Wayne Gretzky's bodyguard after accompanying Gretzky from Edmonton to Los Angeles following one of the most talked-about trades in NHL history. However, McSorley's career ended abruptly and disgracefully in 2000 when he was playing for the Bruins at the time and swung his stick at Donald Brashear. He was later charged with assault and convicted guilty of assault with a weapon in court. For the attack, he was sentenced to 18 months probation. Number 6. Ziggy Palfi. Ziggy Palfi, like many other players on our list, ditched his mullet years ago. I would normally levy a little penalty for such treason, but this guy deserves to be in the Mullet Hall of Fame. It's tough to imagine a cut that better represents the mullet than the young Ziggy Palfi. Not only is this the most undervalued entry on the list, but it might be at the top if not for its brevity. Number 5. Mike Ricci. Mike Ricci was one of the NHL's most attractive players, despite his missing teeth and wild hair. Ricci played 17 seasons in the NHL for the San Jose Sharks, where he is one of the league's most aggressive centers. Ricci's fierce and enthusiastic playing style garnered him high accolades from the San Jose crowd, and because of his incredibly long hair and the controlled mayhem he brought to the game, you could always tell where Ricci was on the ice. Number 4. Ryan Smith. Smith receives number 4 solely for the progression of his mullet. His mane has evolved over years from scraggly to sleek to flared. Smith was a key member of the 2005-2006 Edmonton Oilers, who went to the Stanley Cup Finals before falling to the Carolina Hurricanes in 7 games. Number 3. Al Iafrate. Give me one individual you know who would dare to leave their head like this. Al Iafrate's mullet is one of the most perplexing and irrational hairstyles ever seen, and it deserves its own category. While other players have been known to shave specific shapes into their heads, Iafrate fashioned a natural cowboy belt buckle on his skull. Iafrate was part of a Capitals team that established a record for the most goals by defensemen on one squad, and his NHL skills competition slapshot speed, 105.2 miles per hour, was held for 16 years. Number 2. Jaromir Jagr. Jaromir Jagr's mullet will go down in hockey hair history as thick, lush and gravity-defying. There has never been a head of hair like Jagr's in league history, and his selfish on-ice behavior suggests he spent a lot of time on it. Jagr won the MVP award in 1999 and 2 Stanley Cups with Mario Lemieux. He then moved to play for Avant-Garde Omsk of the Continental Hockey League since leaving the New York Rangers. Jagr will be remembered for his skill, his selfish play at times, and his hair. Number 1. Barry Melrose. I know, you're probably wondering how Barry is ahead of Jagr. I have various reasons for this, longevity being one of them. Melrose has been an advocate for the mullet for years and is still looking forward. Melrose's mullet and facial hair are still perfectly styled. It doesn't hurt that I get to see him on ESPN every night during the playoffs, but after considerable deliberation, I still believe Melrose is at the top of the list. Melrose's mullet remains as fashionable as ever, despite his graying hair. He'll remain in front of the camera, mullet intact throughout the playoffs, providing us with one of the NHL's most amusing features. If you're interested in more hair content, click the link on the screen to watch the best playoff beards in NHL.